I'm Sharon Brett-Kelly, and today on The Detail I'm in the Otago town of Naseby, population 150, famous for curling, motto 2,000 feet above worry level. And here, right here in the centre of this old gold mining town, you're just surrounded by history. There's the little general store here that I'm passing. There's the one of two old pubs just across the way that's getting done up, and then there's the cutest little watchmaker shop. But the reason I'm here is not to talk about the curling, and it's not really to talk about the history. It's to talk about this town's bid to be the first dark sky community in the southern hemisphere. And it's not just about everybody closing their curtains at night and turning their lights down. There's been a lot more to it than that. In fact, this has been 8 years in the making. And what sets it apart from the other dark sky places is that they are reserves like Rakiura Stewart Island, Tekapo and Aotea Great Barrier. Naseby is an entire community. OK, it may only have 150 people, but it's not an empty field. So I'm off to the cafe to meet three Naseby locals who have led this ambitious project. Tourism operator John Crawford, astrophysicist Paul Bishop, who does night sky tours, and Jill Wolfe, who's done a lot of the groundwork on the international accreditation. You've brought along a report.
It's our application.
What is this?
This is actually our application.
Okay.
I had to be honest, I didn't print it all off, so it's about 150 pages.
Wow.
This is from the dark sky. This is saying the types of things that you've got to tick off to actually be able to put your application forward before they'll actually look at it. Mm-hmm. So it just goes through. You've got to have mapped out completely where your dark sky area is going to be. You've got to show that your community is actually agreeing to you. You've got to show your lighting inventory of what the main lighting around the town, that it meets the criteria. And a big one is the education. We've done lots of night sky. You know, this is what the night sky is about on the domain here, and it's been lovely.
So the children of Naseby will be night sky experts.
Yeah, well, that would be nice to think, yeah.
So, Jill, we're just a few weeks away from the final step to accreditation, and you're making a bit of a face at that. It's been a long, painful process.
Long, painful process, and each year, every time we think we're a few weeks, it tends to be a little bit longer than that. We're at the last stage in the fact that the council plan is, we're waiting for that to go out for public consultation, and that should be the last step. If that goes according to the way we hope it will, with no objections or anything like that, then once that, I think it's a 20-day period, whatever it is done, then yeah, we can then resubmit our IDA application.
Your IDA, what's the IDA?
Oh, sorry, International Dark Sky Association.
Take me back to the beginning, though, because we're talking about several years ago. Whose bright idea was it to do this?
Well, I think it might have been a combined sort of Naseby vision. You know, we'd been talking to some astronomers who had visited the town from the Dunedin Astronomical Society. They thought this was a great place, and Tekapo was hugely successful and was close to us, so we knew that there'd be consistency of sky vision, if you like. We were always looking around for commercial opportunities to help keep jobs in the town and enable some growth. We never wanted the place to be sort of overwhelmed with tourists, but you know, you can get reasonable numbers in without really sort of changing the ambience of the town and so on and so forth. And so it started off as a means perhaps to create employment, and we got Otago University involved in doing a tourism survey for us to see what sort of interest and where the people might come from, and then we basically went forward.
I think about the same time we were very lucky, and we got a couple of the IDA representatives over here from the States, and they were just blown away and they sort of said, yeah, absolutely should. You need, there's nothing that won't tick the boxes to become to be accredited. Just the darkness. We haven't got any commercial lights at night. I think it's one of our huge advantages is that we are dark. You've only got to basically walk and you get away from any of the residential lights or anything lighting the street lights and things like that anyway.
So you thought, okay, we want to become the first community in the Southern Hemisphere to be a dark sky community. And I'm thinking, all right, well, in a tiny town like this, what is it? Just make sure that the residents draw their curtains and everybody turns off their light at night? Is it simple as that?
Yeah, no, we knew it wasn't quite as simple as that. We probably didn't know the degree of the complexity that was going to be. The International Dark Sky Association put out a whole set of rules and lists that you've got to meet to become internationally accredited. And for a community, it's quite strong. We met 90% of them. You have to monitor and test what your dark sky, how dark it is. So Paul can explain how that all works. But yeah, there's a test that goes out. We go out at night time and say how dark the sky actually is in different areas around the town.
Oh, yeah.
The bit we had the problem with was that we didn't have anything in policy that stopped any residential with putting bright lights out there. And that was where we fell down in the whole plan. And there is only actually one place in New Zealand that has got a policy in place to actually monitor and manage residential lighting, and that's Naseby with the AORACA, yeah.
If that was the only thing, why has it taken you so long? 8 years. We're talking about 8 years, aren't we, John? Is it 8 years? Why has it taken 8 years, John?
Well, the first thing for us was to get the town on board, and I think we did that really well by getting, we had night sky sessions. We brought up astronomers from Dunedin. We even had an astronaut, a NASA astronaut, come to town and
who was that?
Colonel Mike Hopkins. He was actually on the space station when I was given a tour once. I said, "There's an astronaut on there that's been to Naseby." There's no word of a lie. He was actually on it one night.
So the local school sent virtually all their pupils up, I think. And the town hall was absolutely groaning with people, and it was a fantastic event. Everyone was fizzing. A real life astronaut in Naseby. It was fantastic. So we kind of created the groundwork, and we did have support from the council, except they were sort of a wee bit blown away by what we were trying to achieve, and they didn't really take it as seriously. Then we found as we went through the process there were sort of mainly regulatory type things. So by the time you get through the mire of bureaucracy and you have to get town planning changes and exemptions and so on and so forth, this was just a process that went on and on and on.
Oh.
But in recent times the council has really stepped up and has even provided a bit of funding and things, and have been really supportive the last couple of years, Jill, haven't they?
You know how it is, some of those things, they sit there, they go to council, yeah, we support it, we understand it, but it's not a priority for us. And all of a sudden, and they see the tourism opportunities, they see what it does to wildlife, the dangers, and they start to see the benefits. Because what we had to do was actually change the district plan. We had to put a new chapter into the district plan, which is quite involved. It's got it's not easy. But it appears it's not easy from a council point of view. And the other thing the council had the problem with is that no one had done it before. Like I think the Tekapo one was in the 80s, so it kind of didn't probably give them much to go on.
Yeah.
So they didn't have another council out there that they could actually copy or cut and paste sort of thing.
The council didn't take you seriously, but what were you asking the council to do?
The first step was to actually make sure all the lighting was compliant. And so the council, in that respect, were extremely good. We were the first community in the Central Otago district to actually get 3,000 Kelvin lighting. So it's all LED lighting. It's all down lighting. So there's no sort of upward lighting to affect the night sky. We even have the lights here dim at 10 o'clock just to give that extra darkness. But it was all the regulatory stuff that really kind of killed us for a long time.
Regulatory? I just can't imagine what regulatory stuff you need to comply with.
One of the other things was that district plan was actually up for renewal completely. So I think we got put a little bit, it was kind of like, let's not spend money and make a big change to the existing district plan. But now I think they're actually just, seems like they're just actually now progressing, just making the changes.
Right, and is that all to do with lighting and making sure that it's dark?
Yeah. But if you build here or you alter your home and you change the outside lighting, it's got to comply with the new standard that has been set for Naseby, and probably will also impact the rest of the Central Otago district, I think. Yeah. So it's that's had a very positive effect on a wider scale as well, which has been really good.
Because I notice at the little place that we're staying at has got fairy lights strung on the fence outside. Is that allowed?
Yeah, the fairy lights, little solar lights have become quite a big thing. At Christmas time, you can have holiday lights, and then you should take them down after that period is finished. The wee fairy lights, I think we just going to do some tests on that, and I'm hoping that they're all sort of lower than what the level of lighting is. You probably find because they're solar, they'll only have a very small viewing area and that. Yeah.
Okay.
I would be surprised if they're a problem, but I don't know.
Security lighting. What happens there?
Most people think security lighting, the brighter the better. Actually not the case. On the IDA website, actually, they show you some quite clear examples where it's really, really bright. What happens is it becomes focused in a particular area. So your wee burglar knows that and can see it and walks around the outside area of it, and actually you don't see it because you are focused on the bright light and you don't see what's in the shadows. You reduce that light by half, quarter, and make it a much dimmer light. You actually are seeing much broader area, so you actually see beyond that bright light. So it's quite an interesting one because your mindset says brighter is securer.
What about just general garden lighting?
So what it is a set amount of lumens that you're allowed to have per acre or hectare of land. When you spread lights over that area, there's not a lot of lighting out there. And
So garden lighting's okay?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's the measuring thing. Okay. So
this is the same meter that I think everyone uses for sky quality measurement. Yeah, so basically it measures the darkness of the sky, so on a scale of sort of up to around about 22.
yeah.
So the higher the number, the darker the sky, because astronomy goes backwards, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So a brighter object is a more negative number.
So it's called a sky
Quality meter, SQM
yeah.
meter.
And it's about the size of your hand.
Yeah.
And then what happens when you switch it on?
So you switch it on and it takes a reading, and obviously 9.54, so it's pretty bright in here, obviously. I mean, you want something around about the 22 mark. So when I use it, I tend to take 4 readings. There are different ways of using it. I prefer to point it at the South Pole in space, that is. The point in space, which would be directly above your head if you're standing on the South Pole. So effectively, it measures a cone of sky.
Okay.
Okay.
And
so
it tells you how dark it is.
It tells you how dark it is, yeah.
And then how do you use that information?
I just use it to log. I don't know what standards we need for dark sky accreditation, but I'm building up a log of my site, and I've also got some measurements at home as well, just at my house, just out of interest.
From what you know, what are the darkest parts of
Well, Jill, you
Naseby?
might know more than I do there, because I wasn't part of the survey around the town.
So when we did night monitoring, we actually had people come in and do it for us the first time just to help us and show us what to do. So they went round and they selected, I think it was probably about 20 or 30 different locations around town, just random locations, middle of Leven Street, somewhere, a motel somewhere up the road, somewhere slightly out of town and places like that, and did those readings and then did them the next night and did them over a succession of nights sort of thing, just to make sure there was consistency in those readings. And they did sit around 22, which was absolutely fantastic. To be fair, I think the only place that was slightly lower was the place that we owned at the time. we had a light that wasn't great, which we had to fix very quickly.
And so that number, 21-ish, 22, how does that compare with other places?
I think Tekapo are somewhere around about 21.8-ish, 21.7, something like that. I can't remember. But I haven't seen figures for Great Barrier Island, for example, or Stewart Island. But I imagine they're around the same sort of ballpark.
Yeah, and you would expect those ones to be really dark like that because they're reserves, so not much housing, not much lighting. In reality, there's huge darkness areas in the fact that they are reserved, which is why it's kind of a lot harder to do the community one, because you're actually doing it within an area where people are living.
Is there anybody in Naseby who just said no, not interested?
No, not that we're aware of it all. Way back, we actually went round door to door. We didn't get any negative feedback at all. People's concern was, how is this going to affect me? What about my lights? What if I want to do something outside? So it was trying to make people really comfortable with the fact that it doesn't change any existing lighting, not that there was any that was wrong anyway. The rules they're not there to stop people being able to do anything outside or have that lighting. It's just putting practical things in place really to make sure that the light doesn't shine up.
But clearly you had to push hard for this. You know, you said the council, and it's taken you so many years. Yeah. You had to push hard to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I'm just glad Paul had the fortitude to hang on in there, you know, because
really?
he was a bit of a pioneer in his own right. You know, he bit the bullet and was here sort of waiting for it to happen, and, you know, it was like... And I think Jill, every time, you know, the some other hurdle, we'd sort of be a bit sheepish when it came to a conversation with Paul, you know.
Hang in there, Paul.
Suffering goes on.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there.
Do you expect others to follow, you know, once you get the accreditation? Do you think there'll be...
Yeah, I think it's inevitable, and I know already Glen Orkney are looking at it, and I got invited down there to give them a presentation February last year.
The big talk is actually there being a dark sky New Zealand. Big ask, big steps, ambitious. But you're very ambitious. But you know, you've
got to start somewhere.
No reason why not. And really, when you like, there's places in the states, Arizona, Sedona, there's places that actually are accredited. So you sort of think they're big cities, but they still manage to get accreditation. So you know, New Zealand's not that. Wouldn't be hard to. Shouldn't be hard to do.
You can do it. Speaking of big, I'm with Paul Bishop under the big Maniatoto sky as dusk is falling. No sign of unnatural light here in this paddock above Naseby where Paul has his hut, and that's why it's perfect for night sky tours.
We're about 640 metres here, so that's looking west, and as you can see, there's nothing there. I mean, it's almost you know, level with your eye. You know, just virtually the horizon there is just miles away. The worst bit is the north part here, and that's still very good.
Yeah, that's the Ida Range.
Ida Range, yeah. So it's not much higher than the cloud-based level there, actually. That's only just covering the peaks, so it gives you an idea of how high that is. Yeah. So that only covers, 5 degrees, maybe 6 degrees. And the north part of the sky is probably the part of the sky I show the least.
Oh.
There is an object that rises in the north there about this time of year.
Oh, what is it?
It's just a ring nebula. It represents what's going to happen to our sun in billions of years' time. So it's looking at almost like looking at our sun's future, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I find that really hard to get my head around.
I mean, my standard tour is a tour of the solar system, and then we move out to the stars and into our galaxy. I like to give telescope time as early as possible, because otherwise people are hanging, especially if they're kids, otherwise people are hanging around. So I've come up with what I call a time travel tour. And that way you get to look down the telescope within 5 minutes. And that time travel tour is effectively telling the story of our solar system from its history to its future.
But basically what we've got here, let's walk over there, but because it's freezing.
It is cold. It's a bit warm. It will be a bit warmer in the hut. There's no heating, but
it's just a big sky, isn't it? That's why you're here.
Yeah, a lot of people do refer to it as big skies of Maniatoto.
And it's pretty cloudy here tonight.
It's very low cloud here tonight, isn't it?
Okay, and we're in a little shed here.
So I'm in the process of making it more welcoming for people.
So this is the telescope base that you're getting out now?
Yep.
It's called the Sky Watcher.
This one's Sky Watcher, yep. It's a Dobsonian telescope, which refers to the mounting configuration, really. The telescope itself is what you call a reflecting telescope. Basically, it uses mirrors. This one's tracking, so when you get power onto it, you get it all lined up, which means dead level and aligned true north-south. And then when that's ready, you switch it on. In this handset, you've got about, I don't know how many, 30,000 objects programmed in. It comes preloaded. So all you have to do is pick it from a menu, the object you want to look at, which is ideal for tours because it means you can flick around between objects very quickly. If I was doing a tour tonight, we'd probably start with a star cluster. So I'd have that programmed in, and I'd tell it to go there, and I'd have it sitting there waiting before the group arrives. So when they arrive, it's already on the object. And also you want to check this working okay.
What does it mean for you to have Naseby declared a dark sky community and to be the first in the Southern Hemisphere?
Yeah, it's a big thing, really. It's a nice box to tick if we can get it. I'm sure we will get it. It just feels like sometimes, are we going to get it? Are we going to get it? But surely we will. Yeah, it will be great, and it's great to be here, sort of ahead of it getting set up and be established, sort of hit the ground running, as it were. I'm not expecting an influx of people. We are off the beaten track a little bit, but it can't go against us. Numbers will increase. I mean, they are already increasing slightly.
Do you get surprises even now when you look up to the sky?
I think I'm surprised I still find it so amazing, some of it. You look at an object, you think, wow, that's the best I've ever seen it, And so far I've only had one person that thought, oh, was that Saturn, sort of thing? And most people go, wow, that's Saturn, So I think that person might have been expecting to see something a bit like what you see from Hubble. It's not going to happen,
No. And where we are standing now, is there any sign of light pollution?
Depending on the cloud cover, looking over there, which is practically due south, you can see a glow from Dunedin.
And Dunedin is...
But you need the cloud to be at a certain level because it will reflect in the streetlights from Dunedin.
Dunedin is 1 hour 45 minutes by car from here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's quite a long way away.
But if it was crystal clear, you wouldn't get that because there's nothing for the lights to reflect off.
Does that affect, what you can see?
No, wouldn't impact it at all. No, and you've got to remember, we are on farmland here, so sometimes if there's a bit of activity in the evening, obviously you can't do a tour, but I only had one evening when that was happening. They were, doing the bales. And the only other impact here would be when they do pest control, spotlighting, shooting rabbits or whatever. But it's in their procedures to call me when they're doing it. So, people don't want to hear gunshots going off in the dark when you're showing people the night sky.
But Paul, you, in a way, you've taken quite a big risk to come here.
I have.
In 2018, you kind of packed up your life in Dunedin.
Yep.
You decided not to go to Tekapo. You came here. You've waited quite a long time.
I know. I'll be honest, it has been nerve-wracking at times. There was an occasion I wasn't feeling too good about things, and I had one piece of equipment on test at home because I was having problems with it. This would be my biggest test, I think, and this particular occasion. And there was this woman staying. She was here for 2 nights, and the first night was the night I had this equipment on test. And I explained that to her, and the weather wasn't looking good, and there was only one person. I don't do tours for one person, and I was feeling so bad about things, not just because of the tours, but other things just weren't going right, Mm-hmm. And I thought, this will really test me. If I can do this tour for this lady, then I'll know it's what I really want to do. And the equipment failed, and that didn't make me feel any worse. So I contacted her and said, well, we'll go for tomorrow night. And we did. And when I got here, I still wasn't feeling great. Come on. I set up, I still wasn't feeling great. And when she arrived, as soon as we got talking, bang, it was it, fine. Really enjoyed the evening. She really enjoyed it. And I got home and I said to myself, well, that was a real shot in the arm. That really gave me a confidence that if I can feel that low about things and yet still give a tour that someone really enjoys, and I really enjoyed it, then this is what I'm supposed to be doing here. This is what I'm all about.
That's it for today. I'm Sharon Brett-Kelly. The Detail is supported by the Public Interest Journalism Fund. This episode was engineered by William Saunders. Our producers are Alexia Russell and Bonnie Harrison. And thanks to Jill Wolfe, John Crawford and Paul Bishop. Ka kite anō.